Hey, I'm Alicia, your non-monogamous relationship coach. Welcome to the podcast where my friends and I chat about our relationships, enthusiastic non-monogamy, polyamory, swinging, kink, and our lives. You'll get a candid peek into what makes it worth it to live life outside the box. And in case you're still wondering, nope, we're not monogamous. Hello. I am really excited to introduce you guys to Delphine Lumen today. Delphine is someone who has a passion for learning about what makes happy, healthy relationships and has spent the last year or so creating social events like coffee socials and speed dating and friending events for non-monogamous folks, places where genuine curiosity is welcome and where heteronormativity and cisnormativity and allonormativity are challenged. And we're talking today about, well, her story, obviously. Delphine spent 7 years intentionally celibate before then starting to date and engaging in polyamorous relationships. And so she's going to talk about like how people in polyamorous relationships deal with their jealousy and other challenges and what it's like to have a unique perspective on polyamory due to growing up in a non-traditional household and the challenges that are involved in untangling your genuine feelings from societal programming and what it really means to be authentically yourself in relationships. This is a fun conversation. I hope you enjoy it. If you do, please like us, subscribe, leave a review, wherever it is that you're listening to the podcast. Hit something because that will mean that more people will hear what we're talking about. Enjoy.
Oh,
Okay, we're
hi, good
recording now.
morning.
Hi, hello. Happy Friday.
Yay,
Oh,
it's Friday.
although when people listen to this, well, not necessarily. I was gonna say when people listen to this, it'll be a Thursday, but that's only assuming they listen to it the day it comes out. So
Right,
it
one of the
could be Friday
options.
for them as well.
There's a chance it could be Friday.
A 1 in 7 chance.
Right.
Yeah. Hello. Welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Totally. I was pretty excited that you were like, yeah, I'll come talk to you. Because I really enjoyed meeting you at Sex Geek Summer Camp. And
Aw.
yeah, you're fun. So well, I was
Oh,
excited.
thank you. Same with you. I thought you were awesome, and I loved connecting online through social media with you, and I've been really enjoying your content and actually
Thank you.
sharing a good amount of it.
Oh, I
And so
love
this is a
that.
fun opportunity.
Yay, thank you. Um, so here's where I want to start. How about telling me how okay, you know what? No, I want to do a little bit different. So we met at Sex Geek Summer Camp and I don't remember if we talked about if you are non-monogamous or monogamous or what that looks like for you.
Definitely non-monogamous.
Uh-huh.
My kind of background, like when people ask me, like, so how long have you been polyamorous? Because that's how I identify as polyamorous. I'm
Mhm.
like, well, my story is a little different than most. I grew up in a very non-traditional household where just being yourself was kind of valued instead of like having to fit in a lot. I mean,
Mhm.
I did have to fit in and I guess there's an expectation that I would be like, I don't know, not conservative or something, but
Right.
uh, but it was like I don't know, and like just being yourself was kind of supported. And when I was really little, I remember having two sweethearts in when I was like in like kindergarten or something.
Mhm.
There was Thomas and Ludovic, and we were in the same group, I think. And I held hands with both of them, and they knew each other, So I'm like, I've been polyamorous since I was like 6, probably. Um, when I was an older teenager, I read The Ethical Slut and engaged in non-monogamous relationships, but I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
I also was not very emotionally intelligent, I think, and so I didn't go super, well, you know. Or I mean, but just like most teenage relationships, I guess, don't.
Yeah.
We learn a lot.
Yeah, it's part of the
And
process.
then afterwards, I was mostly monogamous for many years. I also was intentionally single and celibate for 7 years,
Wow.
while I focused on raising my son. And when I realized that I had a lot to learn and to kind of like work on before I could be in a healthy relationship. And so when I started dating again in 2021, it didn't take me very long to be like, "Oh, yeah, this is really what I align with." Like, there was
Yeah.
no big questioning or crisis or like some people, it's really intense for them, and for me, it was
Yeah.
just like I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's what I used to do. It always felt right." And now and because 'cause I've been learning a lot about just all sorts of relationship stuff,
Hmm.
and it was just like, "Oh, yeah, it's what feels right for me." And there was no looking back, no questioning. Um I just started again, dating again as a polyamorous person.
Yeah. That's amazing. You do have a unique story. Very much so.
Yeah, it's
Also, you don't even look old enough to have been celibate for 7 years intentionally and have that whole story. So, there's that.
I'll be 40 this year. Thank you.
Good job. Nice.
Yeah, and my son is 17 years old and he knows that I'm polyamorous. My family, my friends know there was never any big kind of like coming out for me. Like I'd already been really open about myself on social media and through my friends. Like about like my history with depression and anxiety and like all of that. I reached a point where I was just like, why would I hide who I am? There's nothing
Mm,
shameful about experiencing depression and anxiety. So I was already really open about that. And so then just being open about what was going on with my life and dating more than one person and all that, it was just like, I don't know, it was easy, I guess.
yeah. Yeah. I love that. I think that's kind of the key to, like, enjoying your life, to experience a life that feels good is being able to be authentic and just show up as yourself instead of trying to fit in the boxes, all of these different boxes that we're supposed to fit into.
Yeah, totally. It feels really liberating, because even though I did grow up in a non-traditional family and environment, like my mother worked on movie sets she made a career of being a movie makeup artist. And so there was just all sorts of people around me living all sorts of different ways. And, I knew what drag queens were when I was pretty little and, all of that. But in trying to find my place in the world, it kind of I don't know, I just tried on all sorts of
Yeah.
things until I figured out what felt like me and to be able to just be me and live openly, which I understand is also a huge privilege because not everyone can be out about who they are.
Yeah.
It just feels amazing, you know?
Yeah. 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 I love that. It's funny. I never would have, like, looking back now, I can go, "Oh, yeah, I've probably always been poly."
Uh-huh.
But I never would have thought that. I was like a serial monogamist, right? Like, and now I'm in love with another person, so I probably have to leave this other relationship.
Right. Yeah, yeah, that seems to happen a lot.
Yeah,
Like we're
yeah.
like, well, I have to choose and no, and it's like you watch all the romantic movies and they're like, I must choose between two people. And I'm like, ¿por qué no los dos?
Uh-huh. And it has to be the absolute best choice. What if I fuck this up and then I spend the rest of my life miserable because I can never change my mind again?
Right. No, exactly. And honestly, that feeling, even when I was in a relationship with someone that I'm still really good friends with, it was a happy, pretty healthy relationship and we connected and everything. And I always had that feeling of like, but I can never, date anybody else or kiss anybody else. And it was just like, it just felt so wrong.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like but then because just how my life was, there was no option of, like, dating other people really or being non-monogamous but
Mhm.
that's a whole other story.
Yeah, 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 yeah. What So you said that it's come pretty easy for you. What would you say are the challenges that you've have experienced in being polyamorous or non-monogamous?
I mean, there's definitely, there's a few. Probably the biggest one for me that's really current and that feels really personal is rather than like just the general challenges that we all face, like dealing with jealousy and da 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 da, is untangling my genuine and authentic feelings and needs from the sort of like monogamous programming that we get from our families and society and Disney and all the things,
Mhm.
And so sometimes I have this like, I get feelings of either like being upset about something or really wanting something. And then I'm like, well, wait a minute. Is it because I truly want and need this in order to feel connected and safe and have, those really basic needs met? Or is it because I've just been told so many times that this is how relationships are done?
Yeah.
And sometimes I manage to like untangle it and be like, okay, this is really something I need. Or like, oh no, actually, it's, when I start unpacking it, I don't really need this. And sometimes it's really hard. Like there's still some things that I'm like, I still don't really know right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, totally. That's super relatable. I often find that I'll get big feelings around a thing, like, I want that. And I'm like, "Wait, I don't actually want that. I only want it because somebody else has it. Somebody else is getting this thing and now I want it." And at no point in my life have I ever desired that.
See, I don't really experience that.
I get it all the time. It's
Um,
so dumb. I'm a giant toddler.
oh, that is so funny. It's like I didn't want it, but now I do. Or
Now
like
I do.
a
You're
yeah, like
playing
a
with the blocks and
puppy
I want to
or
play with them. Huh.
yeah, no, I don't really get that. Like if I have, if one of my people does something with a meta that I have zero interest or that I've had zero interest in doing, I'm like, good for you. You found something that wants to do the thing with you. And I'm so glad. The times that I do get feelings of, and I was going to say jealousy, but I don't even know if it's jealousy. We'd have to have like an operational definition of jealousy for me to use that word, I guess, because if
It's
you
hard.
Google it, it's defined in so many different ways.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say I get big feels that don't feel good
Yeah.
if one of my meta gets something that I've been wanting or
Mhm.
needing from my partner and that I haven't been getting. And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it takes that happening to even recognize that that was a thing you wanted.
yeah, totally. You're like,
Uh-huh.
oh my God, like I had no idea I had this desire for this,
Like
but
like, I didn't know that was on
it's,
the menu. I didn't even know it was
yeah, totally.
available.
Right? Yeah, exactly. It's like, how can you might, you can have this kind of like abstract longing for something, but you don't really know what it is. And then when you figure out what it is, you're like, oh my God, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that people having different definitions of words can be a little challenging.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah, I think it's really important to be like, well, what does this mean for you? What does
Yeah.
jealousy mean for you? What does fill in the blank mean for you? Rather
Yeah.
than assuming, like, it's kind of like assuming that because you're in a relationship, you're going to want and do the same thing. It's like, might not look the same. And same thing with definitions.
It's like
Yeah.
jealousy has
And
like, the word for most of us has this feeling of like, "Oh, I'm doing something wrong if I feel jealous." Like, like, it's not okay for me to feel that way because in monogamy, if say I'm feeling jealous, then I'm saying you've done something wrong or you've hurt me or you know what I mean? Like if I'm feeling jealous, it must mean that you did something wrong is kind of the standard. Even though that's
right.
not really how it works. And so I think that that is one of those things to untangle that holdover from monogamous conditioning. Like it's don't be jealous. That's not right.
Right. Like, how dare you be jealous and not have compersion right now?
Uh-huh, uh-huh, and I'm a super jealous person, but I deal with it real well. Like,
Uh-huh.
I've gotten so used to feeling jealous, it's not even a thing anymore, but I
It's like,
still
here we
fucking
go again.
experience it. Yeah, like, it still exists, and I'm like, "Oh, there's that pit in my stomach. Oh, I guess I gotta think or journal or something now, ugh."
Yeah, I found that I definitely can experience jealousy, and I do. But it tends to be when I'm not secure or when there's a
Yeah,
need that's unmet.
yeah,
Like I've had moments where I felt really secure in relationships and I felt like my needs were met pretty well. and I was having total compersion.
Yeah.
And but if I'm not feeling like that, that's when I tend to feel more jealous and less
Yeah.
compersion-y.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally relatable. That makes so much sense to me. I think a lot of people, especially I work with a lot of people who are maybe new to non-monogamy or are transitioning from like some sort of like ethical non-monogamy into polyamory. Like they're having some sort of transition in relationship style and are often like, how do we have this conversation without making, without like making it seem like everything is a disaster?
Yeah, I have 0 experience with opening up a relationship because that's just not the path that I
Yeah.
took.
Yeah.
Like, as a teenager, I I like to call my group of friends still to this day, the Island of Misfit Toys. That's, like,
Hmm.
literally the name of our group chat. And we were just, like, all the kind of, like, the weirdos that didn't really necessarily fit with any particular cliques and that were maybe, not so stuck in, like, being a skater or a goth or a
Right.
whatever,
Yeah.
And a lot of us just kind of, like, had more liberal attitudes towards relationshiping and sex, and,
Yeah.
and we
I
just kind
call
of,
us
like,
the
had.
sluts.
Yeah. Actually, the name of the full name of the chat is The Island of Slutty Misfit Toys. Uh,
Yes. Oh my God, that's
I
amazing.
don't know why I didn't say it before. Um, but yeah, and it's like we just kind of like I don't wanna say we all slept with each other, but there was definitely a lot of, like, people having sex with others without necessarily feeling like we needed to be in relationships with each
Yeah.
other. And I haven't been in a lot of, like, committed relationships. Because I mean, I think in big part because I never felt the need to be in a relationship to have sex with someone. I think a lot of
Mm.
people do that. They're like, "Oh, I want intimacy, I want sex, therefore I need to be in a committed relationship." And if that's what you really want to be in a committed relationship, like that's super valid, go for it. I fully support you. But I don't think that that's what everybody wants. But it's
Yeah.
kind of like the only moral option around.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
it's really not, but it's what we get told.
That's
Like,
what we
"You
get
wanna get
told.
laid? You gotta have a partner."
Yeah. Yeah. Or get a partner and then don't get laid. What is that all about?
Still then just complain about it, like, all the terrible jokes of, like, "I hate my spouse." I'm just like, "Why do you guys even do that?"
I was at a party one time. It was one of those, where they sell sex toys in the living
Yeah.
room parties, right, with a bunch of
Yeah, yeah,
women,
yeah. Like a Tupperware
and
party.
the lady like, sitting kinda next to me was making a joke about, that she only gives her husband a blowjob on his birthday,
That is
and
so
I was
sad.
just looking at her, and I was like, "Oh, "Honey, I'm you really, like, huh, that's so sad. Oh, I wish you could enjoy that. It's so much fun." It's
Right,
like,
or it's like or if you truly don't enjoy it, don't do it at all. Find something else to do on his birthday. Like, don't do it on his birthday, but then kind of, like, be miserable about it.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
um I really think that there's not only one valid way of doing
mm,
relationships.
mhm,
Like a lot of people that are monogamy are like, monogamy is the way. And a lot of polyamorous folks are like, polyamory is so superior. And I'm like, it's really not. It's like,
they're all
find what works for
relationships.
you.
Yeah,
Do you like jazz? Great. Do you like hip hop? Great. Just, if you're into hip hop, don't go to a jazz club and vice versa. Like, but there's no moral best or worse with
mhm,
those 2, it's just find what works for you. And for me,
yeah,
it's being not just non-monogamous, but to be polyamorous because I like connecting with people.
yeah, yeah, I love that, that's so good. Yeah, I think yeah, I agree. Relationship structures that fit the people that are in them, rather
Right.
than, "This is the way you're supposed to do it, follow this path, and then you'll finally be happy."
Right, exactly. And then it doesn't work. And you're like, but I did all the things.
I checked the
There's something
boxes.
wrong with me. And it's
Mhm.
like, oh, there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
just doing something that doesn't work for you.
I'm curious, do you feel like polyamory is An orientation or an identity or a choice?
The answer is both. I don't think
Mhm.
it's binary. I think it's a spectrum. I think
Yeah.
it could even be like a multi-dimensional plane.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
but let's just look at it like as a spectrum for now, because that's simple enough that most people can probably really easily understand. And so it's kind of like, let's think about the sexual orientation spectrum, where on one end you have people that are deeply heterosexual, then on the other end you have people that are like very homosexual, and then you have people that are like bi or pan, or they're somewhere in the middle. They might prefer one gender but still be attracted to the other one. And I really believe that some people are like just wired to be monogamous, and some people are wired to be polyamorous, and some people are somewhere in the middle and they're ambiamorous, where they might have a preference, but they can do one or the other. And so for those, it might be a choice,
Yeah.
if they're ambiamorous, kind of like if you're bisexual and you choose to be with somebody of a specific gender, it's a choice. But for people that are, truly polyamorous or truly monogamous, it's not a choice, it's just who they are. And that's how it feels like for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Same for me. Um, and also I've talked to a lot of people who fall somewhere in the middle, but then life circumstances
Yeah.
push them one way or the other, right? Just the people they're engaging with, or mental health, or resources, or just parenting, right?
Right.
All the
No,
things.
totally. Well, and also I think that it's not because you're in a relationship with only one person that you're necessarily monogamous.
Hmm.
You can be polyamorous, but because you just haven't found another person to connect with, or because of circumstances, like you say, you're only dating one person. Like I didn't stop being polyamorous those years that I was, in either in monogamous relationships or in no relationships at all. Like it's not because
Yeah,
I'm in no relationship that I'm not polyamorous. Like, then I wouldn't be monogamous either. What am I? It just, if you start unpacking it, it kind of doesn't make sense. Um, I just, yeah, because of circumstances, I lived in a really, really small town, like less than 1,000 people, and there was only one other openly sex positive person in town, and we found each other and relationships together for a while. And
yeah,
then, also kind of dated a few other people, but there was just never a really deep connection.
yeah,
And so, yeah, there's just no other people to date. If I would have gone to a bigger town, maybe, but I was raising a small child, and it wasn't a priority enough for me to go and make a huge
yeah,
effort to seek other relationships.
yeah, yeah, totally, totally. That makes a ton of sense. Um, I'm curious about, I know that you work in are you a sex educator? What do you do? I feel like I know, and
Um,
now I'm like, I have no idea. I do know, and I have it somewhere, but why don't you tell me?
okay, so I have not had a traditional career path either. I had a child when I was on the younger side. I also dropped out of high school. Didn't go back to school until a few years ago, maybe 3 years before the pandemic. I got my GED, then I started attending college classes, and then the pandemic hit and schools closed, and I had a teenager, and anyway, so all that kind of took the side. Um, and there's no quick explanation for that. And so I spent about a year and a half working as a professional sexter. When you and I
I'm
met,
so
I was at the tail
excited.
end of that,
Oh my God,
where
I'm
I
so excited about that. I've never met anyone who did that, and this is so cool. Okay, sorry,
I
continue.
would literally sit right here on this spot
Uh-huh.
with like my cat next to me, just like right now, and like, sometimes like Downton Abbey playing in the background, or just whatever music, or even eating a piece of pizza and typing just the nastiest things and getting paid for it. It was
Yes.
wonderful for a while. It was wonderful until I got bored with it,
Yeah.
and for several reasons, I was like, "I'm over this." And so that was until fairly recently, and then I've also been, doing professional house sitting and pet care,
Mm,
and, I still do that, and those kind of non-traditional jobs,
yeah.
um have afforded me a lot of flexibility to do the things that I've been wanting to do or needing to do. Like when my teenager was stuck at home and essentially losing his shit because of the pandemic, it
Mhm.
was really nice to be able to just work from my computer or go walk dogs and come back. And since I moved to Portland in January, it's giving me the flexibility to meet a lot of people, go on dates. I started organizing coffee socials just because I wanted to meet
Yeah.
people, and most of the events I was seeing were either activities I had no interest in or like spicier kind of events. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
just moved here. Like, I don't need to get spicy right away. Or just, and I was like, I just want to have coffee. And
Yeah.
so I started hosting coffee socials, and it quickly became a thing that people were asking me like, "Oh, are you gonna do, are we doing coffee this weekend?" And I was like, "I guess this is what I do now." And then maybe 3, 4 months ago, someone asked in one of the local polyam Facebook groups if there was any polyam speed dating events. And everybody was like, "No, there used to be, but not anymore." And I was like, "Well, maybe I'll do one." And so I posted in the group. I was like, "Hey, if I did this, would anybody attend?" And, last time I checked, the thread has, like, 150 responses. Like, over 100 individual
Yeah.
people have responded like, enthusiastically. So I was like, "Well, shit, now I have to do it,"
Now I gotta do a thing.
And that was a little bit after 6 Geek Summer Camp where you and I met,
Yeah.
which I had attended because it's low key been what I've been wanting to do for a long time. Like I remember the first time I got exposed to the concept of being a sex educator. That's not like, somebody in high school who puts a condom on a something. I was like, wow, this sounds amazing, but it just seemed so unattainable because my son was like 6 when that happened.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like something I could never do. Um, yeah, and then this summer, yeah, I attended Sex Geek Summer Camp, and I was like, okay, like I've got all these ideas, kind of like how to do all these things. I've got this knowledge, but I don't want to push anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's just see what happens. And yeah, and then this person asked about speed dating, and then I was like, well, shit, I guess I'm doing a speed dating event, and I'm really good at organizing stuff. So I found a venue. I figured out like how do you do this. I organized everything. I sold out my tickets, had a great event, matched all sorts of people together. Um, and then people were like, "Hey, can you do it again?" So then I did it again, and I don't have my a date for my next one because just you know because I'm still figuring out how to do all the things.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, I guess that now I do polyam speed dating and friending events because that's my format. Is it's not just speed dating. I think that a lot of people really crave community, especially,
Yes.
after 2 years of being stuck inside
Mhm.
and not seeing so many of our friends and families and just being so isolated. People are just craving human contact.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, and also, I like challenging kind of like cisnormative, heteronormative norms. Well, yeah, or it's part of the word. Uh, and so my speed dating and friending events are gender inclusive and expensive. Um, it's not like you have all the men in one group and all the women in another group. I
Yeah.
split genders about equally. I had some people that identified as non-binary, and so I split them in both groups too.
Yeah.
And so you get about half your dates with the same gender than yours, and about half your dates with other genders.
Yeah.
And so, if you're bi or pan, then great, they're all dates. And then people can check the box, one or both boxes for friend or date, or they can check no, of course. And
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
I've matched like I don't know how many people so far. And it's just been really amazing to see friendships and being formed. And like I matched one of my friends with my ex, and now they're hanging out. And I'm just like, oh, this is so cute. And so, what do I do? Um, I try to cultivate community, really. I take care
Yeah.
of dogs and do house sitting because that brings income and flexibility to do the things that I really like.
Yeah.
And I'm working on some other events too that are like on the back burner.
I love this so much. It's so hard to make friends as an adult, and especially
Seriously.
in these subset communities. It's like, cool, we can meet a bunch of people online, but like in person is so much harder. And then like how do
Yeah.
you, right? Like how do you strike up a conversation? How do you even know if anybody that you meet is going to be someone who you have anything in common with, especially something like polyamory or or kink or whatever. I love this
Right.
idea. That's amazing. Good job.
Thank you. It's been really fun, like the core group of the people that have been coming to coffee, which is, the island of sweaty misfit toys. We have, let me think. There's a professional church and opera singer. There's a software engineer, or a couple of them. I don't know. There's a
Sure.
few techie, nerdy
Yeah.
people. Then there's me, the dock walker and professional sexter. Then there's some guy who does some crazy environmental geology. I don't even understand it.
There's a rock hound.
Um, yeah, there's a professional pilot, a woman pilot. Like we're just there's an army guy, retired army guy. Like we're all different, and literally the
Mhm,
only thing that we have in common is that we're polyamorous. And
mhm.
so that makes it really interesting because it's like, as an adult, the advice we're given, it's like, oh, you want to make friends, go find activities. So go find a bowling league or a group of specialized interests. But then it can be fun to be in a group where everybody's got the specialized interest on rock hounding or bowling. But it's also really fun to be around a coffee table where everybody's doing different things.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, so the conversation is not centered on one topic, but because we're all polyamorous, none of us have to explain ourselves,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's whenever I meet somebody new that's not kind of like within that circle, I feel like I have to explain myself. And it just feels a little uncomfortable. Like I shouldn't
Mm.
have to, but I have to.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah, especially if you mention, partners, like, m more than one person, and then people kinda give you that quizzical look of like, "Wait, what?
Right. And
I
that's when
thought
you
you
have to
said"
explain yourself.
Uh-huh,
You're
uh-huh.
just like, okay, there we go again. I was like, well, I'm not monogamous, but they all know of each other, and like, I don't want to do that. I don't want
Yeah,
to explain myself.
yeah,
Like, I will if I have to, but it
uh-huh.
just feels so much better to just meet with people that I don't have to explain anything.
Yeah, yeah, that's relatable, totally. Okay, what is something that anybody can do for free to help them approach relationships in a healthier way?
Oh my God, God, where's my phone? I had written, you sent me the list of like
Uh-huh.
sample
Oh,
questions, and
you have an answer ready.
I
Nice.
do. I'm very organized. I told you. Let's see. Oh yeah, I literally wrote, listen to podcasts, LOL.
I mean, that's real.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
Like, I don't listen to a ton of podcasts, but I do, and I've learned so much. And there's so many of them out there that it's kind of like, oh, well, which one should I listen to? And really, what I do is like, if I want to learn about a certain topic, I'll go and find the podcast episodes about
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
And so I'll check on the Multiamory podcast, for
Mhm.
example, and see, okay, what do they have about this topic? Or
Yeah.
I'll go on, Spotify and put in polyamory and jealousy, or polyamory and something whatever, and then be like, okay, we've got 6 different episodes from different podcasters on this topic. Let's see what they say.
Yeah.
There's lots of things we can do to improve our relationships, but podcasts is really within reach of most people.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's super accessible. You can get a lot of different opinions, a lot of different perspectives. If you don't like what someone's
Hmm.
saying, just move on to the next one. It's just super easy.
Right. Or even if you don't understand, you're like, I kind of understand what they're saying, but not really. Like, when I
Yeah.
was taking college math courses, sometimes there would be some thing that I'm like, I don't understand this. So I'm gonna go on YouTube, and I'd watch a video and I'm like, I still don't understand this. And watch another one and maybe three or four, and I'd be like, oh, the way that you explain it, now I get it. And it's the same thing with podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can find somebody who just communicates about the topic in a way that you can relate with.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. Um, okay, I have one more question for you. I have a segment that we hold aside for supporters of the show on our patreon.com/not monogamous, uh, called Just the Tip. And
Oh yeah.
so, so my question is, what is your best or favorite sex tip? Oh my my God, I adore you. That is amazing.
Like you too.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. That was really fun. That was like definitely a lot uh easier than I thought it was gonna be. I mean, it's like first times. It can be any kind of first time is gonna be a little
A little awkward. It's
nerve-wracking.
okay. I'm
So
really
you're
easy. I'm super slutty.
I know you're easy, Alicia. No, you're awesome. Thank you for having me. And I'm excited to keep listening to your podcast and sharing your content.
Thank you. And that was Delphine Lumen. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you want to hear her just the tip, sex tip that is for supporters of the show, go to patreon.com/notmonogamous, become a supporter, a lover, a friends with benefits, a friendly neighbor. Bye.